toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. That sounds like a party about to happen right there.
Yeah, that was kind of an abbreviated crack sort of a party beginning. We'll try that again later on in the show. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. And today we're going to be doing both Smokin' and Toastin'.
Yes,
because we are on location at Vinyl Draught Social Club in Keemah, Texas. With us today, special guest, the return of one of our absolute favorites, Trenton Smith from Oliva Cigars, and Doug Meisinger, the owner of Vinyl Draught Social Club itself. Did I get your name right?
You did.
Okay, because I got it wrong twice before we started the show. So
yeah, to get it wrong a third time, there'd have been no excuse.
Okay, I feel good. I feel like I passed some sort of a test. It may have made up for the week. Well. So, so welcome to show number 343. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We will be discussing and enjoying pretty much all of those things on today's show.
343. That puts us right at halfway to 400.
Yeah, and I appreciate you handling the math portion of the show. Yeah, that's really important.
Went to school in Liberty, Texas.
We do want to say special thanks to our guest from last week, Lauren Dacey, the Jack Daniels brand ambassador, who brought...
She was awesome.
She was awesome, and I tell you what she brought was awesome, because those expressions from Jack Daniels, and I admitted as much on the show. I'm not a fan of the old number 7, but boy, what she had was some of the better stuff that I've had in a long time.
It's amazing that such a major company, like the best-selling whiskey in the world, and it's one of those things where like everything else they make is amazing.
Yeah,
I bought the bonded. I did like I told her on the show, and I actually went last week, and I bought the bonded.
Terry, our engineer, this is showing once again Smokin' and Toastin' directly influencing sales. Terry went and bought a bottle like the next day.
Yes,
and you were absolutely crazy about the bonded.
I actually have it. It's here. I brought it so in case anybody wanted some bonded.
Well,
it is actually here.
we may have to avail you of that. We are actually.
I have not actually. The triple mash. I've tried a couple of the new
triple mash.
I love the triple mash, but no, I'd love to try it.
We are actually already sipping on some really interesting whiskey. Now we've had the rep from Heaven's Door, which is Bob Dylan's brand. We've had him on the show before. Sampled a number of their expressions, but this one is different because this one, Doug, you had this one done just for Vinyl Draught. Is that right?
Yeah, this was a private barrel pick that we did. They had contacted me, and I guess it was probably March of this year, and asked if I was interested in doing a private barrel of Heaven's Door, which is the best-selling bottle I have at the bar.
Is it really? Wow, that's great.
By a pretty huge margin, actually.
No kidding.
Our signature cocktail, we call the Heaven's Door Smoked Old Fashioned. And so I go through quite a bit of Heaven's Door, and they called and asked if I would be interested in doing it. I asked, first of all, how much. Then I asked what all it would take to make something like that happen. And so I remember there was a little bit of a deadline. It had to be actually picked by the 14th of April. And so I said, well, can you give me a week to think about it? And he said, sure, that was no problem. And I can't lie. I called him the next morning, and I said, and I told him, I said, I can't even put into words how much ego is playing into this answer.
I totally get it. Totally get it.
But I'm in, and I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. I typically, with a lot of those sort of vanity projects, they kind of come up a little short for me, and so I didn't expect a whole lot the first time I tried Heaven's Door, but I was impressed with it. I thought, well, this is really nice.
See, we agreed. The first time we tried it on the show, we were actually really impressed with all of the expressions. It was like, okay, this isn't just something that's, trying to be sold alone on the strength of the celebrity name.
Correct.
And in fact, they remember they brought us a bottle to sample that was like this real special edition, came in a leather-bound book. It was like a $400 bottle of whiskey.
Oh, the bootleg.
And that was outstanding.
Unbelievable,
yeah, really, really good. So, but yeah, I agree. In fact, recently I had some friends over, and I pulled a bottle of the Heaven's Door. I think it was the straight whiskey. I don't remember which one it was now, but
It's hard to go wrong with any of them.
pulled that
That's
out
the
of the
thing.
bar, and that was what we drank that night. And I was just constantly looking at it, going, I forget how good this really is.
Yeah.
So I love this. By the way, it tastes. It has that sort of Heaven's Door taste. In other words, it reminds me of the bottle that I have at home. But this one, I think, is a little higher proof. It's got a little bit of a more aggressive whiskey hug, which is not a bad thing. And it's got. I just get really nice cinnamon and maple
Yeah, it's
undertones
got that little
in it.
cinnamon linger on the tongue at the finish. It's really nice. It's real sweet and round up front too. Like it goes like as soon as it touches the lips, it just gets throughout the whole palate.
So this is something that you guys pour exclusively here at Vinyl Draft, correct?
Yes.
And for those who aren't familiar with your place, we're in the upstairs, very cool cigar bar area. But tell me a little bit about what your place is.
Well, so the way this whole thing came to be is I was part of another business. A lot of people here know the story of what happened there, and found myself not wanting to be associated with that and things that were going on there any longer. So I had moved my operation into this room that we're in right now. And this had been a steakhouse for many, many years, but it had sat vacant for probably a year and a half. And so I was renting this just as office space, and then COVID hit. And everything in the world just sort of shut down. And so, but I would still come here every day because I couldn't just sit at home. I mean, this was just a thing.
Sometimes you got to go to work. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go to work. And, 1 month became 2, became 4, it just kept going. And so I started to have this conversation with myself, which is a very dangerous thing to do, of, I tell you what I would do if I had this whole building. Because again, I was just renting this room, and I was like, I would turn this room into a cigar lounge. I would do the bar downstairs, but I would do it primarily a whiskey bar. I started having all these little ideas in my head of what I would do. And eventually it started taking shape of something I think I could do this. Now, admittedly, I had no plans on opening the restaurant side of this. I wanted to just be a full-service whiskey bar and a cigar lounge. And then the landlord, when we discussed, the terms of my renting this place, pointed out that I'm renting an awful lot of kitchen equipment. And I'm paying for it one way or the other. So he's like, you might as well use it. And it really just becomes a case of, you just find the right people in that kitchen that can make magic happen, and it just works. And so what the concept is, downstairs is the Keemah Steak Company, which is a prime steakhouse and a primarily whiskey bar. This up here, the Vinyl Draft Social Club, is a private club. It's a members-only cigar lounge. Now, obviously, we're in a tourist town, so sometimes I get some people staying at the courtyard, staying whatever. I always let them come up and enjoy it. But the idea was I just kind of wanted to have something that the people that come in here feel like they kind of have a little bit of ownership in, a pride in it. They can bring their friends, show them the club. And, we just recently expanded our cigar selection.
Yeah, you just got you went from
times.
1 standing humidor to 5 now. Okay,
Yeah.
Because I think it's been a little while since I talked to you. You were going to get, I guess you were going to get 4 more, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
5 total.
And they took a minute
Yeah.
to get here, and then they took a minute to season. And so we got them in, and because we had talked about doing this here before, and I remember saying, I said, well, I got a barrel coming. And so I would love to do it once the barrel lands, and then I'm increasing the cigar. So could we wait? And then things finally all kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
Now, does the fact that the cigar club is separate and private, does that play in at all to the licensing and zoning of being able to sell alcohol on the premises?
It does, very much so. So that's one of the things, and a lot of the members, they'll buy a bottle from me because they like to mix their own. So they'll buy the bottle, but you can't bring alcohol into this place.
Right.
There's a TABC.
Outdoor, outside alcohol.
You just can't do it. So that was the other thing is I like the idea of sort of a small, intimate, because there's nothing worse to me than going into a cigar lounge, going to the humidor, grabbing the stick, cutting the stick, going there, and there's no place for you to sit.
Yeah.
That's the worst. It's like, I guess I have to take this home now. So I thought, well, I want to have something nice, kind of exclusive, where the people actually get to know one another and interact well together. And the steakhouse concept is, I have certain people, I call it hitting for the cycle. They come in here, they go to the humidor, they come up, they have a cigar. Then they come downstairs, we get a table for two. They have dinner, they have some drinks, and then after dinner, they order another drink. They come back here and they finish it off with one last
Which
cigar.
sounds like just a wonderful evening.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who can ask for more than that? So that sort of concept. And, I also have a lot of people here because we keep the door shut always. And I don't know if you noticed when you walked in, but on any given night, you can't smell cigars downstairs at all.
No.
At all. And I still get those phone calls, and I understand it. People will call to make reservations, and they're like, no, it's not going to smell like cigars in there, is it? If you stay downstairs, it won't. and the other thing is they always want to tour it. They always want to see it. And so you come up here and you've got those people that walk in the door and they're just like, oh my God, it smells amazing in here.
Yeah.
And then you have the people that walk in the door like, oh God, and they just immediately run for the stairs.
My favorite are the ones that start yelling loudly about how they're allergic to smoke. It's okay if you're allergic to smoke. You really don't have to yell loudly about it.
Yeah. It's fine for you to just not participate. That's cool. That's cool. Well,
This isn't for everyone.
and
right.
I always find that, and I'm going to make a generalization here. I usually don't want to hang out with those people anyway. So cigar smoke works as a really effective deterrent. That's what I've found. Now, that's just me. I'm only one person, but
There was an old Punch ad. I use my cigar smoke as idiot repellent.
yes, and it absolutely works. Let me tell you,
Hear, hear.
it absolutely
nice.
works. Well, we got a lot to cover on the show. There's some news out of the Oliva camp, which Trenton is going to be sharing with us. He's
Ooh,
already
excited.
shared some cigars, which I haven't even gotten to how much I'm enjoying.
We haven't even
this,
started talking about that yet.
Yeah, this smoke, but we'll get to that. And by the way, again, we'll talk more about it later, but wow, does it marry perfectly with this special vinyl draft bottle of Heaven's Door. Wonderful, wonderful pairing. So we'll get to that. We'll also be tasting some beers on today's show from Aurora Brewing Company. Their Piacere. It's an Italian-style Pilsner. This brewery is out of King Ferry, New York. We'll be sampling that. Also from right up the road from us in Austin, Texas, and the Jester King Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be trying their Rex Machina. It's a hazy IPA. And from Pasa, Robles, California, and a little brewery you may have heard of called Firestone Walker.
Yeah.
We'll be trying their Firestone Walker 2023 Double DPA. It is an Imperial Special Bitter Ale.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Sounds like that might be right up your alley, doesn't it? So looking forward to all of
Always
that.
wait
Plus,
for beer number 3. That's going to be the one I'm loving.
plus, we will also we'll be doing another spirit besides the Heaven's Door and besides the bottle of Jack Daniel's Bonded that Terry brought, which I imagine will put a sizable dent in. But we'll also be trying a Canmore 12-year single malt Scotch. So that will be something to look
doesn't
forward to
sound
and
bad
and
either.
pair with cigars as well. So lots of good things coming up. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, we will be doing drinking news. And in fact, not only will we be doing drinking news, but I am now privileged to give you the drinking news teaser headline. You got it over there? You good? A cocktail for the baby daddy. And we'll have that story coming up a little later on. Plus, tell you about some cigars to watch for. And there's so much going on in the spirits business right now. So we'll try to get to several important spirits things, including a listing of the best whiskeys of 2023 so far, according to one of the lists that thinks they know what it is and
That doesn't
likes to
sound
share.
urgent enough. It should be like the best whiskeys right
Now. Well, I've got some right now stories if you want to get to that. How about the 11 best Irish whiskeys to drink right now?
There you go.
We could get to that one too. So anyway, we'll get to a lot of these things and more. Plus, I'm really excited to hear about what all is going on at one of my absolute favorite cigar companies in the world, Oliva. I love these guys. I love everything they release. I love some of their stuff so much it's like almost shouldn't talk about it, but we'll get there and we will talk about it. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. We're on location at Vinyl Draught in Keemah, Texas, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those
and
things.
during the break, I found out that there's some additional information that we hadn't had a chance to share, and that is that the proprietor here at the Vinyl Draft Social Club is also a participant in Dancing with the Stars Bay Area.
I told you that in confidence.
Oh, you did. Oh, damn it! I hate when that happens.
This is a public event. Right?
Yeah,
It's not like people can't find out, right?
Word has gotten out, so
Now it's international news.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So, do you have a particular style of dancing that you are, particularly adept at?
Do I look like I have a particular style of dancing? No, I do not. But I always think that's the point. I mean, it wouldn't be worth watching if I could dance. I mean,
Right.
Is that right?
this is the second time I've done it. In fact, somebody was downstairs having dinner and they're like, "Oh, you're so." And then they were talking about it. He goes, "Oh, he's the first person to ever do it twice."
Wow.
And she goes, "Well, you must be really good." And I was like, "You would think." But no,
It's way more entertaining when you're not.
But do you have a dance partner that's actually a really good dancer?
I do, and I did last time. So I was very fortunate that I.
So you just kind of stand and they twirl, that type of thing?
That's actually yes. Okay, just this. It's just going to come out after it's over, but yes, that's a big part of it.
Okay,
She's
good to
doing
know.
so much of the heavy lifting, and it's like apparently all I really have to be is the tall guy that can hold his arm up, and
Yeah,
I can
there
do
you
that all day.
We are on location at the Vinyl Draft Social Club, the cigar lounge, part of which is the upstairs area where we're doing the show today. Full steakhouse and whiskey bar downstairs, which is very cool. And we are thrilled to welcome Trenton Smith back to the show. Trenton is with Oliva Cigars. And, Oliva, I remember it was a couple of times ago that we had you on the show that it just so happened that we timed it with announcement of a new release.
Yep.
And we made the point at that time that Oliva doesn't release new things that often. So that said, this last year's been pretty busy for you guys,
Been
hasn't it?
really busy.
Yeah.
We just today, I was joking earlier that we should do this podcast more often to get exciting news because we just had a conference call
Every time
today
we do
before.
it, yeah.
Before I came here, we are partnering with. Let me get this name right. La Fine Lame. And it's
Okay.
a French company that makes really, really cool knife cutters, punch bracelets,
Accessories.
Kind of high-end accessories, I take
high-end
it, right?
accessories, and these things are quality.
Beautiful. I was looking at the pictures you brought up on some of those, and I'm totally gonna have one of those knives.
Yeah, those things are sweet.
It's
And
got a little cutout, so when you close the knife, you're cutting the end of your cigar.
Yep,
Oh, I'm
it's
so excited!
The
about
sharpest blades. It's got a lifetime guarantee. It's awesome.
And you showed me pictures of a bracelet, like a men's bracelet, that has a punch cutter in
It
it.
has a punch, so you're
I
never without
love
a
this.
cigar.
You're never without
I'm
your punch.
assuming the punch cutter looks like the clasp, so I'm assuming when you unscrew that,
Yeah.
then
It's
there's your punch
adjustable,
right
too.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's adjustable on the backside.
Well, as soon as those are available, I'm buying one of those. That's sweet.
September 1st.
In time for my birthday.
Oh, that's coming
I
up.
have to
quick.
tell my wife because that's in time for birthday. So actually, that means that they came out yesterday. So can we find them at tobacconist shops? Where do we find them?
I've got to get the list. So
Okay.
there's already some existing customers in Texas. I just need to find out who they are.
All right, cool.
Fantastic.
And this is something that you guys are going to want to check out because Christmas is right around
I was
the
going to say
corner.
it's a great gift.
If you don't
Right
have
around
anybody
the
to buy a really nice cutter for Christmas, then you send it to me. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. If you need somebody to be a recipient for a gift like
That's
that.
right.
And another thing that we're going to be selling ashtrays made out of concrete. So they're not going to blow away. They can stay
That's a cool
outside all
idea.
the time.
Because I smoke outdoors on the balcony, but I'm 32 floors up at my house, so that means
You don't want that blowing away.
you can't take these very light duty ashtrays
No.
out and leave them there because you will not have them the following day.
Yeah, I bought
so-
one years ago that was in solid marble.
Yeah,
And
that'll
it
work.
sits outside, and
That'll work.
It's getting some pitting, and it's looking like it needs some replacement. So,
So maybe we'll get you a concrete one for Christmas. All right, we got to take a break and we'll be back. We're going to start our tastings here. Going to talk a little bit about these cigars because I'm really enjoying this. This is the EP Carrillo
Correct.
version of the Cuba Aliados. So
100% Honduran.
we will be right back to talk about that next on Smokin' and Toasted. Welcome back at Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're enjoying all of those things today. In fact, we'll get to more of all of them, including these Oliva cigars we're enjoying today. But we are on location at the Vinyl Draft Social Club in Keemah, Texas. Trenton Smith is here with us as well, our good friend and guest from Oliva Cigars. And before we get back into it, though, Ian, I want to do a special congratulations to one of our absolute favorites
All right.
At the New Orleans Spirits Competition, presented by the Tales of the Cocktail Foundation, they unveiled recently the 2023 award winners, and the winner for Best Whiskey was from our friends at Balcones.
Those guys.
Yep.
They're crushing it, man.
Texas One Single Malt won Whiskey of the Year.
Wow.
That is such a big, big deal.
Those guys are crushing
They
it.
really are. And really want to get them back on the show. We haven't had them on in a while, but I really just want them to bring a sample of this award-winning whiskey. Samples is why we started the show in the first place. So, it bears
You
to
did
mind.
mention, when you pitched this show to me, I remember you saying something to the effect of, "We may not make it rich, but samples."
Yeah. And that seemed to reach you.
I'm in.
Very good. And so Smokin' and Toastin' was born. And here we are, 342 episodes
Halfway to 400.
later?
Just divide that number in half, and you're right there at 343.
This is our 343rd episode, although it does bear mentioning that one of the episodes never saw the light of day.
That's true.
And I'll talk about that at another time, because we got a lot to go over today. But there is one...
Offline, I'm going to want to hear that story.
There is one mystery missing episode of Smokin' and Toastin'. Yeah, apparently I was a little
I think that was in the
bitter.
40s. That was in
I think it was. Oh, it was very
40,
early. Yeah.
3-ish or 44-ish. I think
very
is the
early.
missing episode.
Okay, I'll tell the story really quick.
Thank
you. Doug's like, come on, tell me. So very early on in this program,
In the before time.
it actually wasn't called Smokin' and Toastin'. The show was originally called Sip, Smoke, and Savor. That was the original name of the show. And we were about 40 episodes in, I guess. And we got not a cease and desist letter, not an official letter of request. We got a message on Facebook from some organization in San Diego that served chocolate-covered strawberries and wine, and they were sip and savor something. And the message said something to the effect
it was
of,
so condescending.
"It's nice that you guys have a hobby, but we do this for our business, and we need you to cease and desist." Now, again, there's no legality at all to a Facebook message. We were under no obligation to cease and desist. But we do have an attorney who works for our company. I contacted him, and he said, "Look, we can fight this, but it'll be stupid, and it'll cost you money." My recommendation, and I really like our attorney. He's a smart guy. My recommendation, he said, is see if you can come up with a different name. And I scratched my head. I could not come up with a name to save my life. And Ian here just blurts out, "What about Smokin' and Toastin'?" I was like, "I like it better. Let's do it." And so we told the people in San Diego to go F themselves, and we changed our name. And that's
All over strawberries.
But I was
all over
telling
strawberries.
this story on the first episode after we changed the name, I believe it was.
Yes.
I was telling the story, and I was a little irritated.
We're talking about Cruz here. Knows how to hold a grudge.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a new and improved person now, but back then I was more of a grudge holder. And so anyway, apparently I explained all of this, and our producer at the time, who shall remain nameless,
Not me.
it wasn't Terry, wasn't Adam, wasn't even Doug. We had a producer at the time who apparently thought that I was just a bit too negative on the show, and without telling us, he never released it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We recorded the
Without
whole
telling.
show without
This
telling
is how
us.
we here.
How did we find out?
Was because my brother. I was chatting with him. He goes, "Hey man, I didn't see the new episode of the show posted at all." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." At the time, we were still kind of new to it, so we were trying to dial in that side of it. And I came in, and Cruz was sitting there, I was sitting there, and our producer was sitting there. I said, "Hey man, I was talking to my brother, and he said the new episode didn't post this week at all." And he goes, and he literally just looked and goes, "Oh, that's because I didn't post it." And then went on about his business as if like that was enough.
Yeah. So that became the great missing episode of Smokin' and Toastin'. So if it ever resurfaces, we'll post it, and you can apparently hear me being...
So you don't even have it.
Yeah, I don't even have it.
Wow.
Because we entrusted all that stuff to him. He was the producer at the time.
Well, I have always heard you take on the chocolate covered strawberry mafia, they're never going to find your body.
That is a good...
I mean,
that's probably very...
Is that what it is?
Very good
probably
advice.
is,
Yeah, very good advice. But here we are at number
Gets sent down
343.
with strawberry shoes.
But here we are at number 343, give or take an episode, and we're about to taste
It's
some
a pretty
Italian
good hobby.
Pilsner. Now, I really like sometimes when I go out for Italian food, I enjoy ordering a Peroni. That's my favorite of the Italian beers. It's just, there's something about the flavor of that beer that really seems to work well with pasta or Italian food of any kind. So I'm actually very curious about this.
It's like Peroni is a light, crispy flavor. It's and it's different. It's not like a Mexican beer. It's a very different flavor profile. And it's fun because when you're especially in a situation where we talked about this with Japanese beers as well. Like,
absolutely,
not my favorite style, but when you're having sushi, man, it goes well.
It goes perfectly. Yes.
So, like the Peroni at the Italian restaurant is great. I don't know that I've tried any Italian style Pilsner made by anybody that wasn't like. There's a couple Italian brands that I've tried, but that's
Moretti and Peroni are the ones I'm familiar with. Yeah,
isn't Italian beer usually in glass?
I think so, and this one is in a can, so that's a little different. But that was one of the reasons that I got this, because I thought it'd be an interesting change up from some of the things that we usually taste here on the show.
Aurora Brewing Company, 4.5% alcohol by volume. Keep cold, drink fresh.
On the nose, it just kind of has that Italian beer, aroma to it. It's not very strong. On the tongue, though, it's got quite a bit of flavor.
It does. It also has a bit of lemon. In there.
That's what I get from
like
it.
a bit
clean.
of lemon.
Yep.
And it finishes nice and clean too. It's interesting, and it doesn't fight the cigar, which is funny because sometimes when you have those citrusy beers, they can fight a cigar pretty hard.
Well, that's absolutely true, and sometimes there's a certain I'm not sure how to articulate it, but there's a certain sort of a strong taste to like a Peroni or a Moretti that may or may not go with a cigar depending on what you've got. This doesn't seem to have that as much as it has just a sort of a smooth Pilsner finish and that hint of lemon that you're talking about.
There's a little tart, lingering, a little tart in the very back of the palate that's very interesting on this too.
Creating a little bit of that Doritos effect.
So I highly recommend it. It's a pretty nice beer. If you want something crisp and fresh and light, and then a little bit on the different side.
The Doritos effect, for those who haven't heard us talk about that before, it's alluding to the fact that apparently, I don't know that this is true, but I've certainly read it a number of times. The makers of Doritos formulate the flavor in a very specific way that makes you want another one. Now,
speaking of Doritos effect, this cigar.
Yeah. And which one are you smoking again?
Now, this is the Aliados Cuba original blend is what it says.
The original one, yes.
And that is the Aurora blend made in Honduras. And that, I got it wrong earlier. That is the 100% Honduran.
This tastes 100% Honduran. It's got just a touch of spice, but it's earthy and nutty and a little bit of coffee in the back of it. Like those are.
Now let's get back to the Dorito effect. I want to see how you're.
Like I keep coming back to it. I keep wanting to smoke it.
Trenton, when you guys took over the Cuba Aliados brand, you mentioned that this is the original. This one that Ian's smoking, this is the original. Is this your blender's approximation of what the original blend was?
We're using the original packaging and making it look like it, but it's not the same.
But it's a totally
different blend.
I was going to say, I've always enjoyed Cuba Aliados, but I always thought of them much more as a bargain or a discount cigar, not necessarily something that was on the par of an Oliva or something like that.
Yeah, when we took over the brand, we wanted something totally different out there, and we wanted it to show unity within the cigar industry. So there's a lot of behind the scenes, making cigars, providing tobacco.
Sure.
With this, it's a true partnership. We're just showing unity in the industry with Ernesto Perez Carrillo and the Honduran version being the Aliados made in the Aurora factory, and that's where the Aladinos are made.
All right. So what I'm curious, if you're Oliva and you've got
I am.
Great. Well, you are. Yes.
You happen
you
to
are
be.
Oliva to me.
So happen to be.
Yeah. When I think Oliva, I see your smiling
Nice.
face. So, no, but if you're Oliva and you have, great blenders that work for you, you do things in conjunction with other blenders like Ernesto Carrillo. So you are thinking about putting out something new. What is the advantage to buying or partnering with an existing brand like Cuba Aliados and releasing them under that name, as opposed to just putting out a new Oliva or another brand under the Oliva flagship?
So, number one, like I said, to show unity within the industry, and there's a lot of attacks on the cigar industry. So we want to show unity. And number two, it's something different. There's a whole different market that we may be able to reach by teaming up with EPC and Aurora.
Makes sense. And by the way, speaking of attacks, I think we all have to lift a glass and toast the fact that we are finally out from under all that onerous legislation that was for years.
Amen.
It looked
Cheers.
it seemed like every time we reported on this on the show, it was another piece of bad news. And now that the judge has completely vacated the ruling for premium cigars, it's like, I mean, I've read on Half Wheel and Cigar Aficionado, they're all basically saying it's over. Like, we're not going to have to come back and fight this particular fight again. And it really does make sense, because what the bill was actually about wasn't about premium cigars at all. It was about stopping underage smoking. Doug, how many under 18s do you have that come and want to ask for entrance into the cigar lounge here at Vinyl
It's yet
Draft?
to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It is yet to happen.
Exactly. I spend an inordinate amount of time in cigar shops. I have yet to see someone underage coming in there trying to buy cigars.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
16-year-old standing out front going, "Psst,
Yeah.
can you get me a punch?" hey, if you see an extra, Fuente in there.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
It just doesn't happen.
it's really geared towards cigarettes, and recently in the last
Vaping,
in the last decade, vaping, which is horrible.
Right.
I just met with a principal the other day, and she was telling me that she doesn't remember the last time they found a Swisher Sweet wrapper, because everybody's using vapes.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like,
They probably
I've
don't
never
even
thought
find
of that.
cigarette butts anymore.
No,
you know?
no.
Yeah.
Everybody's vaping to the point where they're making vapes in the form of highlighters.
Oh, yes,
Really?
of course.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know.
Like eye watches. I mean, you can't tell the difference.
Now, I don't know if you...
And that's just like cigars. They should be lumped in with that exact same crowd.
No, that's
right?
not targeting.
Yeah.
I mean, targeting, making it easy
That's
to hide.
crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but there was a band back in the 70s called Brownsville Station.
Oh, yeah.
That their big hit was called Smokin' in the Boys'
Smokin'
Room.
in the Boys' Room.
They are actually reforming and going on tour, and they've re-recorded their song to be vaping in the Boys' Room.
Oh my!
I made that up. They didn't really do that, but it does give me an idea for a song. Maybe your band could do it.
Because then Motley Crue would have to
Right,
get up there
exactly.
and redo
Exactly.
it.
Maybe
And then
Ian,
act like they're playing on stage.
Ian, maybe your band could
damn.
cover it, but do vaping in the Boys' Room. That'd be a great one. Yeah. Put a little country twist on it. It'd be great.
Actually, we were looking for new covers, so I submitted I'm a Honky Tonk Man. I heard that the other night.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard that in ages.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Years ago, when I was still in the record business, I was with, do you remember Chris Cagle?
Yeah.
Country singer. So I was out with Chris Cagle,
Yep.
and he was talking about how he wanted to find a rock song that he could implement into his set. Because, that was a big thing, just to throw out the token rock song. And I gave him my suggestion. I said, oh, I got it. I got the perfect song for you. I said it would go over so well on your show. So what is it? I said, We're an American Band by Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh,
It
yeah.
would go over, yeah.
And he said, I've thought about it. He goes, you know why you can't do that? I said, why? He goes, because you can't alter that song at all.
Really?
It's perfect. He goes, you cannot
pretty
put
good.
any sort of twist or any sort of change on that particular song. It just wouldn't work. It's so perfect as is. And I kind of thought about it. I thought, he's kind of right.
There
Yeah.
are certain songs that do come across that
Yeah.
way.
Although that doesn't stop certain artists from covering them, changing them, and ruining them.
That's
It
true.
has happened.
That's true.
It has happened. Well, I'm sorry. What was that? Okay, gotcha. Well, see, this is what I love about places like Vinyl Draft Social Club. Is these are the kind of conversations you get into
You
when
never
you're
know.
sitting around, having some whiskey, smoking some great cigars. And I just wanted to mention, by the way, I kind of highly recommend this Italian Pilsner, the Piacere. It's from, what did you say, Aurora Brewing Company? Is that right?
The
Ian?
Aurora Brewing Company.
So I recommend you go look for this. It's definitely worth trying, and I would I would enjoy it if we would have some more. But instead, we'll try something else.
There you go.
This is out of New York.
We'll try something else coming up in the next segment. You are listening to and watching Smokin' and Toastin'. Thank you for being here. Thanks to our guests, and we'll be back with more. Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin' on location this week at the Vinyl Draft Social Club. Doug and Trenton are our guests. Doug, of course, with Vinyl Draft Social Club, and brought out a special bottle of Heaven's Door that was a barrel pick for you guys.
So good.
So how long does it take you guys to go through a barrel of something like this?
Well, so I partnered with Economy Liquor down in Galveston, and we earmarked 36 bottles for retail sale. Those are just about all gone. The rest of it,
I was going to say, am I swinging by there on my way home?
The rest, I mean, I would imagine I'll be out probably by end of December, end of January.
So when
there.
you do your next one,
I've already gotten phone calls about, hey, well, what about doing this one? So how about I sell this one first?
So do you get more phone calls from the Heaven's Door guys or from
from other people?
I just want to be invited out for the tasting process.
That's fine. I tell you what, the tasting here was. I'll just give you a quick little. When we did the pick itself, I had 10 people there to do the pick, which that's when you find the problem with doing an even number.
Because you can have a tie.
Because we had a tie. And in fact, our studio audience, Mr. Chuck Jones over there, he was one of them. And
Nice.
I will say we had 6 barrels to sample from, and in almost no time flat, we had it narrowed down to 2. So it was
like
pretty
that, huh?
quick. It was pretty quick. There were
cool.
2 clear front runners, but they were vastly different. And sure enough, it came down to a 5-5.
So how'd you break the tie?
I own the place, so I voted.
I was going to guess
You
that,
are the vice president. You break the tie, right?
That's it. That was not my idea, actually. That was Heaven's Door's idea. But when I explained to everybody why, because it does have some heat on it. It's 123.8 proof, and it's definitely got a little bit of burn. The other one, it was a lower proof, but a much harsher burn on it. And the fact is, I sell more whiskey as an old fashioned or as a Manhattan than I do just straight.
So a stronger burn might not work as well in those
I didn't
cocktails.
think it would work as well in a cocktail.
That makes sense.
And as much as I'd love to be that guy that can drop $10,000 on a barrel to look at it, I need to sell this. Stuff.
Sure.
And so. And when I explain,
or drink it all yourself, which would be a pretty indulgent way to pick a barrel.
Yeah, mine is a cautionary tale when it comes to that kind of thing. So, no, I kind of explained to everybody, here's my reasoning behind it. And at that point, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
No, you got to sell it, right?
Yeah, you have to sell it. You can't just let it collect dust.
I have no idea what that other barrel tastes like, but this is fantastic.
This whiskey marries beautifully with this cigar. This again, the one that was blended by EPC, and this is the Cuba Aliados. But what is it called? It's
Cabinet.
Cabinet
Series.
Cabinet selection. This is as good a pairing as I've had with a cigar and a whiskey in some time.
I noticed you
really
lit up the Master Blend Churchill.
My
by the way,
all-time favorite.
I got to tell you, I've had a few sizes of the Master Blend. I even bought one of the samplers that had like all the sizes of the Master Blend, and that Churchill is just the thing.
It's one of my all-time
It's
go-to.
so good.
It really is. And again, and I say this, seems like, Trenton, every time we have you on the show, and it concerns me that maybe I should stop saying it, but that cigar is priced so reasonably. You guys could totally be getting a higher price for that cigar. Please don't. But it's just such a wonderful smoke for the money.
See, the next time Trenton comes on, he's going to be like, "Hey, I just got news. We're raising the prices on everything."
Well, now,
because of Smokin' and Toastin'.
and we're going to blame you.
in fairness, you guys did release an expensive cigar finally,
We
didn't
did.
you?
He did.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
So it's a Daniel Marshall, and it's called the Roaring 20s. And it's got, it's got Florentine gold.
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember talking about
gold,
this.
yeah.
It actually, smokable gold.
The food grade gold, right?
Very,
Yeah. I told
very
Ian.
limited amount, and it's very expensive. But there's a good segue. Oliva has a foundation called Helping Hands.
Right.
And a lot of the proceeds are going to that foundation where we provide schooling, healthcare, childcare for the people who work at Oliva, Nicaragua.
So the price is not representing the pockets; it's representing
Correct.
And
Proceeds are going to the helping.
Yeah,
And the price is
awesome.
right at $100, right?
Yes.
And I told Ian, who often will give me cigars as a gift for Christmas, which I always
true.
really appreciate. And I told him this year I only need one, just one
you
cigar.
go.
just one cigar.
Yeah, just one cigar is all I need.
The Florentine gold foil.
Yeah. But you know, I
You didn't
still
bring
have
those?
No. I think I left them in the car.
Oh, okay. What's it about 112
Yeah,
out there right
exactly.
now?
The foil is
Good.
wrapping.
You know, I still have
melting.
one of those. It's about a $20 cigar in my humidor that is one of those AJ Fernandez blends that he did for Monte Cristo that you gave me.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, I haven't gotten a special enough occasion to smoke that yet. If you gave me this Oliva $100 cigar, I don't know when I'd ever pull it out. Like, when would be the occasion special enough, right, for you to go ahead and smoke
Speaking
that
of giving you a cigar, I handed a cigar over to Trenton
Oh,
earlier
my
today.
God.
Yeah, and we got to take a break, but I want you to talk about that in the next segment because his face lit up like
I've never had one.
It was
Yeah.
like Christmas. Yeah.
His face lit up like mine will when you give me the $100 Oliva.
Noted.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. By the way, to our broadcast partners who are exiting the show as of this hour, thank you, and find the rest of the show online at our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube pages. Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're at the Vinyl Draft Social Club, really having a great time. This is as laid back a cigar lounge as I've been in. I just love the vibe up here. It's very, very cool.
Well, thank you very much.
laid back.
It's typically when we're open, the music that we play is pretty much Sinatra, Dean Martin. We try to kind of have that. Everything's sort of it's conducive to good conversation.
Yeah,
and
see, I love that.
we
That's
set
just-
up
that's
pods,
a perfect mood,
sort
for,
of. You know,
yeah, the perfect mood setter for a good leisurely smoke. I absolutely love it.
Thank
in
you.
fact, one of my favorite things used to do in Lake Charles at, I believe it's the Golden Nugget there, the casino. I'd go and I'd put a few dollars in machines and lose my money, and then I'd make my way to this one bar they have. It's right in the middle of the casino where they always seem to have like a Sinatra impersonator and a piano player, and just singing Sinatra songs. And I'll sit there and light up a cigar, and you're hearing the music and you're hearing the clanging of the machines around you, and it's just the perfect
What could be
chill
better?
environment. What
Yep.
could be better? Absolutely. And they had some pretty good beers on tap there too as well. Speaking of beers, Ian is pouring our next taster, and this is from a brewery that we are both fans of out of Austin, Texas.
Rex
called
Machina from
Jester King. Yeah. And so I think it's Rex Machina, like Ex Machina.
Machina. Oh, yeah.
But
Sorry.
he does look like a bit of a machine.
That's easy for you to say.
Any way you look at it. Rex
so it's
on
got
the
a-
cover there.
Yeah, it's got a robot T-Rex, and in one hand he's holding a bundle of flowers. In the other hand, he's shooting a machine gun that is spitting out more flowers.
Okay, so first of all, T-Rex. Second, robot. Third, shooting flowers. I already love this beer.
Yeah, it's hard.
Even
I mean,
before
what's
we
not
taste
to
it.
like, right?
we've
Yeah.
all been there. We've all been there.
This is like my boyhood all over again. I absolutely love it.
It's interesting because it's as a hazy. They call it it's just hazy India Pale Ale. It's not as much on the nose as I would have expected.
I always wanted one of those little pop guns, that you pull the trigger and it shoots out a flower. They have those, like the ones that have the flag that says bang.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But they have ones that'll put out a flower like that too.
Oh.
I always wanted one of those. I thought it would make a good statement of some
That
sort.
is an
Right.
incredibly unusual.
And what
IPA.
statement would that be?
That I'm totally for people owning guns, but I wish they shot flowers.
which they shot flowers.
Yeah, exactly. So how's that for standing on both sides of an issue?
We're running out of barrel over here.
Oh wow! And now that's a bad thing when you run out of barrel. So this is the Rex Machina. You said not a lot on the
Not
nose.
a
Ian?
lot on the nose. Like I'm amazed. Usually you get a lot more floral.
Especially when you're expecting a sort of a hazy, juicy IPA.
like even with a hazy, you get more citrus and stuff on the nose. But I'm not getting a lot
This
on
is
the nose.
interesting.
It's beer-like, but it's not.
You get it when you taste it.
Yeah, when you taste it, it's good. It's got a. I got to be honest. It's got a sunflower kind of taste to it.
Sunflower.
Sunflower.
I don't think I've ever tasted a sunflower.
It's very floral in its haziness.
you're not talking sunflower seed. You're talking like a
sunflower.
taste like a sunflower smells.
Sunflower.
Kind of matches the summer. I like it. It's nice for summer.
Yeah.
Let's see if it. Fights
Although
with
right
the
now
cigar.
our sunflowers are beat down.
Exactly.
We all
Very
are
sad.
beat down with this heat.
This is pretty crazy.
That's why it's hard for me to look. And we are going to do on next week's show, by the way, an Oktoberfest blind taste test because the Oktoberfest beers are out, and it's a little hard to think about them because I need that little chill in the air before I really want.
not there.
So we're going to hope to usher it in next week by doing an Oktoberfest blind taste test, and we've done a blind taste test for Oktoberfest before. But there's some new ones out, and I thought this would be fun to do.
We could
again.
go. You know, it's funny because my favorite is the one that I've always hailed as my favorite is the St. Arnold Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I'm
and
very
then
partial to that.
when we did that blind taste test, St. Arnold was one of my tops, but the other one was 11 Below, which is another local brewery, and they make an Oktoberfest. It's outrageously good.
Well, there's one out from Urban South now that I'm excited to try.
Oh, nice.
And there's several other new ones, or at least new to me, that I thought it'd be fun for us to try. So that'll be next week. But back to our IPA. It does not fight with this cigar, and I'm an IPA fan. It's really my favorite style of beer, but I am always hesitant to drink one if I'm smoking because many of them really don't go well with a cigar.
I have to say, I don't think that it fights my cigar, but I don't think I like this one very much. It's got a vegetal aftertaste that I'm not.
Would it be sunflower?
Not digging on.
Might be sunflower.
I don't dislike it. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, and I kind of maybe I had higher expectations because of how much I like Jester King. And Jester King, by the way, does a lot of saisons and farmhouse ales.
Yeah, they
do a
some
lot of
funky
very
stuff,
funky brews. So maybe they were looking for a slightly funkier taste on the hazy IPA.
Maybe I'm not particularly digging this. I'm almost through it. It's drinkable.
Doug, what do you think?
It's not something I think I would order, but when you talked about the summer thing, I did think about if I had just come inside and it was hot outside, this is something I could blow through pretty quick.
Right. And by the way, I'll just mention, because we had this on the show a while back, one of my favorite beers to drink when I come in and it's hot outside and I'm really thirsty.
Michelob Ultra.
How did you know? My doctor said I should drink more water, so I said, "How about Michelob Ultra? Will that work?" No, but it's Brooklyn Brewing's. They have a summer pale ale, and it's out. It's still out in the stores, and it's one of the most refreshing beers I've ever had.
Was that the one you had at the anniversary show?
It absolutely
That
was.
was great. After I had set all that stuff up, and it was really hot outside. It was so good.
Yeah, we were outside fighting with trying to get tablecloths to stay on the table.
In the wind.
It was too windy.
Yes.
And so I gave up and came in, and I was just absolutely overheated. And I grabbed one of those out of the cooler. I'm like, this is the best beer I've ever had.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was.
Just amazing. But
I
anyway.
kind of feel like I would have liked this one better had we had it first.
It's possible. There's something about the aftertaste that's just bugging me on that.
I do agree. There's something on the finish that I'm
I'm a little disappointed in myself because I like almost everything I've had. Well, now almost everything I've had from Jester King because this is probably the first one I've ever had that I'm not a big fan of.
Well,
I haven't been
that
to the
does happen.
brewery yet either. That's
no, we're going to have to make a road trip, I think.
yeah, I think so.
That would be definitely one to visit. I'm going to be in San Antonio next weekend. Is there a San Antonio brewery you would recommend that I visit while I'm there?
Off the top of my head, I'm sure
They've got it. They've
I
got
don't have any
several
off the top of my
good
head, but I'm sure there's quite a few over there. It would be totally
We'll
worth
do
going
some
to.
research. By the way, if you want to recommend a San Antonio brewery for me to visit and do a little segment, our email address is st@rfcmedia.com. And not only can you send me, recommendations for that, but also if you have questions about anything, cigars, spirits, craft beer, relationship issues, whatever you got, we'll try to answer the question to the best of our ability. And we did get a couple of relationship
You
issue
love
questions,
advice,
so-
man. That's part of what we're here
yeah,
for.
That's what it's all about.
I don't know anything about it, but Pearl Brewery.
Now, Pearl is like one of the oldest
Yeah,
breweries.
I pass that all the time.
And it's in a really kind of a restored historic area there in San Antonio. But I've never been crazy about their beer. Now I don't know whether they've got other expressions of things that I might like. I don't know. The regular old Pearl beer, not a fan.
I want to give a shout out to Oliva. You guys did a blend of one of my favorite go-to I don't want to say budget, but more cost economy, cost effective cigars. You guys did a blend on the Nica Libre recently for CI. It is outrageously good.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things. For different companies,
retailers, yeah.
There's a lot of things. I've never had that one either.
I got one in a variety pack from CI, I think, online, and loved it. And I think I shared one with you.
You gave me one, right?
And we both were crazy about it. And so when we did a show at the Cigars International Superstore in Conroe about a month or so ago, Ian and I both grabbed some of those and smoked them. And I got to tell you, and I said this to the Cigars International guy, is I can't understand why Oliva would have let you have this one. It was that good. I'd have kept that for the main line.
Outrageous.
Yeah, it really, really was good. Let's talk about the cigar that you gave to Trenton before the show, Ian.
So this cigar came out of a friend of mine's humidor. He doesn't smoke a lot of cigars, but he loves to have cigars. And when he does smoke cigars, it's few and far between. But he takes care of them. And he brought his humidor up one night. He's like, grab a cigar. He had two of these in there, and I'd never seen it before. It was an Oliva with a fabric band on it in blue and gold. And I was like, what is this? I said, hold on. And I immediately texted Trent. I was like, what is this? And he goes, oh, that's the original one. And so I told my friend, I was like, I'm taking this with me. I said, I'm not smoking it, but I'm going to give it to Trenton next time I see him. And it's been, almost probably a year since then.
Probably has been a year.
Yeah. And so I brought it in today. I said, I brought you something, and here it is.
So what is this cigar exactly with the cloth band?
All I know is it's the original. I've only seen it a couple times. I've never had one, so that makes this really
So
special.
when you say the original, this was the first Oliva that was ever rolled?
Yes.
Not the first single cigar ever rolled, but the
This
first.
is the very first one.
Okay.
Prototype.
It's actually got a number 1 on it. No, not really.
But it came in a half wheel. They kind of made fun of it, saying it was a toilet seat, kind of like a horseshoe, and the cloth band just made it very throwback. And this is where it started.
So this one's obviously been aging for a while.
It has been, and I kept it in my humidor, and it's been like, even when my humidor was down to like 2 cigars, and that was one of them. I saved that for you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel the love.
The look on your face when I gave it to you, though, was worth every bit of it.
Like I said, I've only seen a couple of them, and every now and then our sales guys will post a picture of them smoking one that they found in a humidor or something.
That's pretty
I haven't had my humidor run empty very often, but I have had that situation come up where you open it up and there's almost nothing left except for the El Cheapos, like the ones that you really don't want to smoke, but you only in a bind. You're like, am I in that much of a bind yet?
The friends who don't really smoke
who don't really understand or smoke. Exactly. And so, yeah, I understand that feeling of panic when you open the humidor lid and it's like, oh no, I got to go shopping. But yeah, that's a big deal. If you left that one alone when you were down.
I did. Well, so like, I used to keep my humidor. I don't have a walk-in humidor like some people.
Can I have it?
No.
But my humidor holds in the neighborhood of 150 cigars, and I used to keep it pretty stocked. And then when COVID happened, I was like, okay, I was working less, had a lot more time, so I was smoking a lot of cigars, and I smoked through all the cheapos, and I smoked through all the medium level cigars. And then there was a time for about 3 weeks where every time I smoked a cigar, it was $20 basically, or more. And I smoked through all those, and then I had to start restocking my humidor, but it's gone up and down a few times since then. But yeah, that's why I had to save that for you. So I thought that'd be fun.
Wanted to mention, while we're talking about things that are a little less expensive, we talked about this last week and never got to it. And I wanted to mention that I came across a really interesting article in a place called the Daily Meal, not to be confused with Daily Mail. And it is speculation about the companies that are behind the Kirkland craft beer at Costco.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a Costco shopper and you see the Kirkland craft beer, you wonder, okay, who's making this for them? Who's white labeling? So they did a little digging, and they believe that the Hopfen und Malz is most likely made by Gordon Biersch, the brewery that has a lot of tap rooms around the country.
Right.
They believe that the Bricks and Barley, Stevens Point Brewery Bricks and Barley, is probably the Drop Dead Blonde refreshing ale, and the FX Matte is most likely Saranac or New Yorker. So I just thought it was an interesting article. You can check it out at The Daily Meal and read more about it. But it's nice to know that there are actually some decent breweries behind them, unlike those Walmart ghost beers that came out for a while, several years ago.
That, right?
We got to take a break, and we will be right back. Still getting closer to drinking news and more sampling coming up. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin', our show about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And if you are watching on video, we did take a reasonably long break in between the last segment and this one, and I've already lit and smoked down a little ways on one of these Master Blend 3s. This is such a wonderful cigar, Trenton. It is just like I just don't think it gets the credit that it deserves for being an incredible smoke at a really decent price.
My fear is that it'll get recognized as like one of the Cigar Aficionado top 25s.
Right. And then
everybody's
it'll
gonna
be out of
want 'em,
stock everywhere.
And I won't be able to get them.
So our buddy Alan Denny worked for EP Carrillo during one of the times when Cigar Aficionado named one of their cigars. It wasn't the Pledge. It was before that. Do you remember which one it was, Ian? The cigar that got Cigar of the Year from EP Carrillo that year that Alan was still working there?
That was the
Encore?
Not the Encore, yes.
Was the Encore.
Yes.
So it was named #1 cigar of the year, and I asked him, I said, what does that mean for you? He said, it means we won't be able to keep it in stock
Everything
for a year at least.
Yeah.
And that seems to always be the case. It's always an interesting list. I don't always agree with everything on it, but it's hard to discount some of their top picks. But you're right. Something like this gets there. Oh, the demand goes skyrocketing, and our little secret is discovered by the masses.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it before. This Master Blend Churchill, there's a lot of sizes of the 5 sizes total, I think?
3
sizes total of it. The Churchill is the bomb. I don't know why this size is the right.
Yeah.
Even the Robusto. I mean, it's full of flavor. I mean, you get a lot of different characteristics throughout that cigar.
It's like that. There are a few brands that are like that. I'm an AJ Fernandez fan, and I love the Bella Artez. And there is one size, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's basically a skinny Toro. It's like Toro length, but it's like a 42 ring gauge box pressed, and it is the best blend of that cigar that you can get. It's better than the thicker ones. It's better than the Robustos.
Sometimes the size like makes a difference, and I don't know what it is. Even like these don't smoke fast, but when I get the smaller ones, I'm always out of cigar before I want to be out of cigar.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, this one
Don't
lasts
want
a
'em
nice.
bend.
It may be
nice
an hour
long
and a
time,
half
yeah.
later, but I'm still out of cigar.
So Ian has just poured for us. This is a Canmore 12-year single malt Scotch. We mentioned, and we were talking about this during the break, that none of us were familiar with Canmore.
Not at all. It says on here, inspired by the bold and courageous King of Scots, Malcolm III, nicknamed Canmore, the single malt Scotch. This single malt Scotch is selected from the finest malts aged for 12 years to give a bold, smooth, rich taste. Canmore, a whiskey worthy of a king made for you.
It is definitely smooth. It definitely has a rich taste to it. I like it very much.
It's
but I will say, compared to the Heaven's Door barrel pick that we had earlier, this is almost like you can drink this one fast.
This is like candy.
Yeah, it is just. It's. I don't dislike it because of that.
It's sweet. It's tobacco-y. The very much a tobacco-y kind of flavor, which is something you'll find in Scotch from time to time, even sometimes whiskey from time to time. But very, very tobacco-y.
But it's not nearly as big as like the cigar malt from Dalmore, which has a very tobacco-y nature to it. But this is not as big. It's very smooth.
It's like a Capri Sun almost.
The barley note.
It's just.
But here's the thing: the barley note on this, like the malted barley on this, is so upfront and so round.
Yes,
I absolutely love this.
Yeah, I like it a lot too.
Right off the bat.
I also really appreciate the minerality notes that it has. It just has that, and a lot of great Scotches have this. They have just that you can almost taste the minerals of the water that it was distilled with.
So on the bottle here, they say the nose is a delightful blend of. It's hard to read this. Delightful blend of a whole bunch of stuff. Says it for a while. Then the palate, it gives you a long description on the palate, and then the finish just says medium to long.
Yeah,
like they were like, okay, we're done right.
Yeah. But that's Smokin' and Toastin'. It's a wonderful blend of a lot of stuff because we bring you the real details here on Smokin' and Toastin'. And we got to take a break because it's almost drinking news time, and we're excited about that as we always are. And we'll be back with drinking news and more tasting and more Master Blend from Oliva. We'll be right back.
In the beginning, so the story goes.
And welcome back, my friends. Enjoying a wonderful Master Blends 3 from Oliva. This is Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And thank you for that. That was wonderful. Trenton, I just wanted to ask real quick before we get to drinking news. This is the Oliva Master Blends 3. Was there a 2 and a 1? Absolutely. And are those still available?
No.
This is the one I always smoke.
Again, just like the Cerio that you gave me, the original.
Yeah.
You may find them in some cigar shop in their archives, but again, I've had them, but not recently. And they're few and far between.
And I would imagine the 3 would consider an upgrade over the 1 and the 2.
Not necessarily. It's just a different blend.
Well, I sure do love this one. If I ever come across a 1 or 2, I will definitely want to try that.
There's people that swear by the 1 and 2, but I've not had them enough to. I love
really
this one, so I'm kind of partial to the one that I can get.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on location at the Vinyl Draft Cigar Lounge, the Vinyl Draft Social Club in Keemah. Doug, thanks for letting us come here and be a part of the festivities today.
Oh, thanks for coming.
We're going to honor you by doing the single most popular segment on our program. Why? We have no idea. But when we talk to people, all they seem to want to talk about is, the cigars and whiskey. That's cool, but drinking news. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for drinking news.
Drinking news.
Drinking news.
Now it's time for
Drinking news.
Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I got to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for
Drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome again to Drinking News. And one of the things that we love to do from time to time here on Smokin' and Toastin' is share recipes with you guys for really good cocktails. In fact, I have some interesting 2-ingredient cocktails recipes I hope to share on next week's show.
Like whiskey and water?
Yeah,
like
that's your favorite. Whiskey and ice cube is one of your favorite, yeah. But in any case, we love to share recipes with you for really good cocktails. And we do have several cocktail experts who are friends of the show, including our own semi-often employed buddy, Chris Morris. And they've talked us through everything from martinis to more exotic drinks. Mm-hmm. These drinks seem to often include ingredients that you might not necessarily have in stock in your home bar. So in order to, make these cocktails properly, you might have to go out and pick up a few things, or at least rummage through a few cabinets in your house and see if you can find some of them. But if anyone ever gives you a cocktail recipe, and its ingredients include diethyl metatoluamide, then trust me, you'd rather drink yourself a big gulp full of Bud Light Lime.
What?
Yep, that's right. Diethyl metatoluamide, more commonly known as DEET. Which brings us to today's story for Drinking News. It involves the recent actions of a Florida woman. 29-year-old Veronica Klein. This Florida woman had been out drinking one night last week when she called up her 24-year-old baby daddy, whose name would later be redacted in the police report, to tell him she wanted to stop by his place and have a couple of drinks with him. Specifically, according to the report, she told him she wanted him to, and I'm quoting here, serve her an alcoholic beverage so they could drink together, end quote. So that's apparently what happened. Veronica Klein showed up at the residence in De Leon Springs of the man with whom she shares a 1-year-old baby, and they had some cocktails. After a couple of drinks, the unidentified baby daddy victim says he began to feel sick and became so ill that he could not speak without throwing up. Now, there's a visual image for you.
That sucks.
Yeah. The Florida man apparently had to suffer through about 30 minutes of projectile vomiting before he could even get himself together to call 911.
Projectile vomiting.
And during that unfortunate half an hour, the man told police that he remembered Veronica admitting to him that she had added Raid roach spray to his last 2 beverages.
Well, I can't.
No, I'm glad you didn't. It was a valiant effort, but I'm glad you didn't. Fortunately, paramedics arrived on the scene and transported the victim to a local hospital where he was treated for Raid poisoning. Unbelievably.
They have a name for it?
That's what they called it, Raid poisoning in the police report. Unbelievably, the victim was later able to give police an audio recording which captured Veronica Klein, the Florida woman, admitting to spiking his drinks with Raid. Officers were also able to locate a 17.5-ounce can of Raid ant and roach spray at the residence, which promises right there on the can to kill on contact with no lingering odor and boasts of an outdoor fresh scent.
Raid?
The police probe determined that Veronica did, in fact, intentionally introduce a chemical compound into the victim's drink with the intent to kill or injure him. The Florida woman was charged with poisoning and is being held in the county jail on a felony count. The victim has a tender stomach, but he is expected to make a full recovery.
Wow.
She said, I love you, honey, but you kind of bug me.
How long before they get back together?
I was going to say a second date.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was about to say, does anybody have Veronica's number?
He is the baby daddy. While awaiting trial, you can only wonder if Veronica Klein has floated some possible defenses to her court-assigned attorney. If so, there's no doubt that he has rejected them and told her she needs to come up with something else, which leads us to speculate and prepare this Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the top 5 defenses for poisoning her baby daddy with Raid that Veronica Klein's attorney may have already rejected. Top 5 defenses for poisoning her baby daddy with Raid that her attorney may have already rejected. Number 5. I thought Raid stood for refill and imbibe, daddy. Number 4. I'm pretty sure this was recommended on TV by Dr. Oz. Number 3. I saw on TikTok that Kahlua and Raid is all the rage these days with Gen Z. Number 2. I was pouring him a shot of tequila, and I was just trying to kill the worm. And the number 1 rejected defense for poisoning her baby daddy with Raid, number 1, just one word, Florida.
Florida woman.
Reporting live from De Leon Springs, where I'm feeling a little queasy and my shot of Malort tastes even worse than usual.
Ow! That doesn't exist.
My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Yeah, if the question is how do you make Malort worse, that would be maybe one of the...
I like that that's what we bring out of this story.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you make Malort worse?
Ever since you have,
Malorted you?
Malorted me, not once but twice.
Yes.
Shame on me. Everything seems to point back to Malort somehow.
Hey, man, Chicago.
Yeah. Well, and I will just say, in Ian's defense, in Chicago, they drink it willingly.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something where they're being tricked into it. They actually go to a bar and order the worst spirit I've ever tasted.
I've been malorted by his hand.
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling that anyone who has ever hung with him for any length of time has probably been malorted.
One day.
I think I'm the oddity here.
Well,
I've not been.
one day, Trent.
Trust
my
me,
goodness.
it'll happen.
That's
It'll
really
happen.
good.
Well, I know it.
It is
Really
only
good.
a
I will
matter.
know when it happens.
You'll know.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
There's no.
It
there's
took
no
2
doubt.
years off my life.
Oh
Yeah.
my! So what did she mix with the Raid?
Well,
What was the
we
alcohol?
actually don't know what the alcohol was.
I can't imagine anything being not noticeable when you mix it with Raid.
Well, yeah, that's
Well,
the thing.
what are you bringing over to drink when you're hanging with your baby daddy? I don't know.
Well, it did say that the raid on the can said it was odorless, so maybe he didn't
I've
notice.
never seen a raid that was odorless.
Yeah. Well, but in the same can that said it was odorless also said it had a fresh floral scent. So
And apparently tasteless.
yeah, apparently. So anyway, there's your drinking news for another week. And so Ian is pouring now, and you pop the top on this right at the top of the segment. But this is a very, I think, interesting beer. This is from Firestone Walker, which this is a company that makes some incredible IPAs. They have great IPA series every year, but they are also very well known for their really interesting barrel-aged stouts, some really interesting porters that they've made. And this one in particular is neither of those. It is a double DPA, an Imperial Special Bitter Ale. And this is one that comes, they have these that come in a cardboard box that are kind of specially
They come
set out
packaged
for
all
marketing.
pretty. Yeah, so they have a few series like that, like the Velvet Merkin and a bunch of other things that they do. I haven't tried this. I will tell you that I'm excited about it because very few breweries make bitter.
Right. That was one of the reasons that I
beers.
really wanted to try this
and
one.
I love bitter beers. Like there's one in town that makes an ESB that you can't find them everywhere.
I
And I
realize-
love that style.
I realize that they are now owned by Anheuser-Busch, but before they were purchased by them, there was a brewery up in New Hampshire called Red Hook. And Red Hook made an ESB that was just absolutely outstanding.
Red Hook,
Wasn't a
Fuller's-
special release.
A lot of people are real familiar with the Fuller's ESB.
right.
'cause that's
Fuller's is very good. Yeah. So
it's
this
just-
one
it's a style
should
that's
be
just not as I guess it's not as popular, but this smells absolutely amazing.
well, and this
It
one,
smells
unlike
caramel and it smells
most ESBs, bitter ales, are in that 5 to 6% alcohol area, and I think this one may be just a little stronger.
Imperial Special Bitter Ale aged in bourbon barrels, and there's nothing about that sentence that I don't absolutely love right off the bat. This is coming in at what does it say? 12.3.
Well, there you go.
Well,
So,
there's that.
yeah. So
It's a little boozy. It's a little beautiful. I would drink this floating down the river. I love it.
I know this is your typical summer inner tubing beer.
Yes, this is 100%. I would have no problems polishing off a bottle of this myself, maybe two, and then walking about 45 degrees out to the bathroom.
Caramel and malt.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Caramel and malt. Like those two are so prominent. I've got to really stop and think to get anything else out of it.
It has that finish on it that's a little astringent, a little bitter, just enough too.
Well, that's the bitter ale.
It really makes you want to go back and have another sip of it.
We call it the Doritos
Yeah,
effect.
the Dorito
Yeah.
effect.
Like some molasses.
Molasses, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Molasses. This is obviously very big,
It's outrageously good.
but I just had a feeling that you might like this based on what I know of your particular taste. So I was anxious to try it. But normally when I pick up one of these from Firestone Walker, it is usually a stout or a bourbon barrel aged stout or perhaps a porter. But I was thrilled to find that this was a bitter ale.
This is
Thought it would be something
the
a
first
little
time
different.
I've ever tried a barrel aged bitter ale. This is so good.
Yeah, I think for me too.
There's a little bit of almost like date or raisin kind of thing. This crosses the line when you make it this imperial. I guess it crosses the line. It's almost in the neighborhood of what you call barley wine.
Yeah, I was just about to
flavor
say it's got a
profile.
little of that dried fruit, date, raisin, barley wine vibe to it.
It's pretty sticky too. I bet if you accidentally drip some of this between two pieces of wood, it would probably never come apart.
And I got to add, it goes perfectly with this master blend.
Oh, now see,
It's
I've got to.
really good.
I need to relight
Oh,
mine because it
gotcha,
went out
gotcha.
during drinking news. So, talk amongst yourselves.
So you're saying this is 12%?
12.3 even.
So I better cut it a little bit short as I'm on my way to my daughter's volleyball meeting.
Could be an interesting meeting.
It might be.
Okay.
Trenton was a little more involved today than he normally is.
He would not shut up.
Kept saying something about molasses and
In Florida,
malt in
something.
Florida. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'm enjoying
You're
it.
so right, Trenton. This
This
just
master blend is
marries perfectly with the master blend. Doug, how often do you do impromptu pairings break out up here in the cigar lounge?
Well, it's not so much that I do it, but a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other people. There's always some really interesting things going on up here. Some I get, some I just don't. But it's it's interesting. You get a group of people up here, and that's sort of the fun thing. You know, and I tell people all the time, this when we're open, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
This is for everybody else. So my time here really to enjoy this place is usually in the morning.
Before the restaurant and the bar
we
open.
before all that.
Sure.
That's sort of my time here.
Yeah.
But I do like to sit up here and observe at times. You do see some interesting things going on. And the crazy thing about this is you have very seasoned palates that come in here, along with people that you can tell this is the first time they've ever had a cigar. This is the first time they've ever paired
That's
whiskey
really cool.
with it. And it's always sort of fun to watch. But there's some interesting things that happen up here with
This
that.
place, so there's 6 of us sitting in here puffing away at cigars, and there's no appreciable smoke in the room. Like this
No,
place is
and
like filtering it so amazingly.
They're all on low. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've had 25, 30 people in here. And one time I came upstairs just to check. And the place was just packed and everything was still on low. And I was like, oh, my God.
doing
And
good.
I was just like turning everything on to high. I opened the door on the patio. I said, in about 5 minutes, this will be fine. But, you know, when it starts to get that way, it's just a simple little series of buttons. You just
All right.
hit them.
Well, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with our final segment. But yes, it is wonderful in here, and we'll be right back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Perfect. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. We are at the Final Draft Social Club in Keemah, Texas. And one of the great things about doing these shows on location is people have a tendency to bring extra stuff. And in this case, Doug, the proprietor of the restaurant and bar and smoking lounge, has brought out a bottle of this Heaven's Door bootleg series. This is the ultra expensive whiskey that comes in a book box, basically, that's bound. And then when you open it up, it's got a really cool ceramic container for the whiskey that is actually artwork done by Bob Dylan himself.
Correct.
Who does a number of paintings and stuff, as well as writing music and asking people not to look at him when he's backstage. So, so this is what he does, and this is what we have, and this is how we're going to go out. Big thanks to Trenton Smith from Oliva. It is always so much fun to have you on the show, and not just because you bring us great cigars, but it's just fun to hang out with you.
I'm trying to think. I think this might be like my 5th time
I think
on
that
the
might be
show.
right. Yeah, you might be right.
My second time at Vinyl Draught.
You're gonna very soon be challenging Alan Denny for the
I
most
got a ways to
visits.
catch up.
Yeah.
Set the record.
So, all right. So let's do a quick tasting of this before we go, because this is a very, very special
Very
whiskey.
special drink
sir.
right here. This smells so beautiful. It smells classic whiskey. It smells leather. It smells
It does
a
a
little
wonderful number on the retrohale, by the way. If you haven't done that yet, that's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you don't want to spill any of this.
No.
I saw Doug
This is-
reach to steady his glass.
All right,
Yeah.
so just the legs on this.
Yeah, beautiful.
Look how oily and beautiful that is. It's amazing.
I got to tell you, this is special.
It's a special bottle. I don't break it out lightly, but there's a part of me that feels like I've finally arrived now that I'm on Smokin' and Toastin', and that you guys have come here. So this was an
Well,
occasion to break this out.
We've actually been trying to do this for a while, and I'm glad we
have.
finally got everything to work out from a timing standpoint. And always a pleasure anytime we have Trenton on the show, because this is
Well, you know,
it's just like a special friendship kind of thing.
when I
Which
set
is
this up, I knew you live in the area.
Yeah, I'm only like 20 minutes away.
And so I love that. I was like, man, let's see if we can get Vinyl Draft going on and Trenton over at the same time. That's in the area. What a beautiful show this would be.
I had
It's
a great
been
time.
wonderful.
I just ashed my wireless mic.
Now,
just
nice.
to show you what happens. But you know what I like about this show? We've done a number of shows in our 434 343
Look,
shows.
It's halfway to 400. So if you divide 400 in half, you get 343.
Okay,
I'm
so
just glad you aren't making my commission check.
in that time, we've done shows at a number of cigar lounges. I have to say, this is the most relaxed vibe of any place I think that we've been.
Place, isn't it?
And we've just been sitting around, and that's what it's almost how I originally envisioned the show when we first started, was just sitting around,
Having a conversation,
smoking great cigars, drinking some great spirits and beers, and that's exactly how today has gone down. So this is one of my favorite episodes of the show ever, just because it's so chill, and I almost wish we'd brought you the in between the breaks, in between the segments.
Incredibly
breaks,
fun.
because it's
probably better than the actual
Probably.
show. I mean, some of it shouldn't be aired, but
I think you were right.
Excuse me, is this thing on?
So
I didn't know it was a live mic.
yeah.
So you've got 5 humidors worth of cigars downstairs, 5 upright humidors full of cigars. So you have a plenty of choices when you come up now.
There's about 60 different facings.
Nice.
Yeah.
In there of cigars, and I'm kind of all over the place with it. I think the lowest cost cigar I have down here is maybe 7, and I go up to 48.
Yeah.
And every
little
place in
something
between.
for everybody.
Well,
little
you
something
got to
for
go up to 100 and add this new Oliva that's coming out. 'Cause
We'll talk shortly.
that's going to be a thing.
Yes.
Wrapped in
I'm
gold.
telling you. That's going to be a
Smoking
thing.
gold.
Awesome.
Well, guys, this has been great fun. Thank you so much for hosting us, Trenton. Thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
and for bringing such wonderful cigars. And I'm still
Amazing.
just absolutely loving this Master Blend 3. And we've had some great whiskey, and we didn't even get into Terry's bottle. So, Terry, you got to bring that next week, okay?
All right, I will do.
All right, fair enough. Next week, our plan, unless things go sideways, is to bring you a blind taste test of the mini Oktoberfest beers that we can get our hands on that have come out. So
You might think Oktoberfest.
yeah,
It's not even October yet.
Look,
That's okay. It's all out.
it is September, and I'm hoping that by next week's show,
Not
we're
technically.
far enough into September that we can have a slight. Well, look, we live in Texas, and we're all excited because this week we got to have a day that was 98.
It rained last night,
Yeah.
and it was cool for about 10 seconds, and it was
Exactly.
awesome to walk the dog. That was it. That's all we
That's
get.
what it's like when you live here in Texas.
110 again
So
today.
we're going to try and invoke the spirit of autumn with our Oktoberfest blind taste test next week. So
right.
looking forward to it. Thank you guys again so much. This has been a blast. We definitely recommend that you come and check out the Whiskey Bar and the amazing steaks. And if you're in Keemah, Texas, this is the place to be. Reporting live from the Vinyl Draft Social Club. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you,
It's been
sir.
a fun show. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And cheers to all of you. Or as we like to say, cheers, y'all.
y'all.